Welcome back to the Gamecocks Football Captain's Log. As always, I am your host, Brandon Silvers, joined by my co-host, the captain of Morris Island Charters, Captain Petey. Captain Petey, I know, we had a pretty rough storm come through last week. Looks like there may have been some damage on top of your head. Please explain how you made it through the storm.
We had some high winds and stuff here, but nothing too terrible. Just some limbs and stuff down. My mom and sister are in Bat Cave, or were in Bat Cave, so they got the full brunt of the stuff, Helene, and we're stuck on the mountain because the road was gone. So they are out as of last night.
Okay. I was going to ask that because you've been sending me the videos and it looks like just complete shit. I can't imagine going through that.
Yeah. And I can't really explain it. Like, there's nothing to compare it to up there. Just there's like 4 ways in and out of where they are. There's like a junction right there in Lake Lower Bat Cave, but where all the roads come in. But the roads are gone, the houses are gone, everything, the bridges are gone. So they're lucky for them. There was a helicopter pad at the top of the mountain above them, and they airdropped in dog food, regular food, and water.
That's really scary to consider the fact that far inland you're affected by a hurricane and like they just can't get you out. You're just stuck.
I mean, it's not even like here where you don't have to worry about everything getting washed away. Things will flood here. You don't it's not going to just be gone here because there's no hills or mountains for things to wash away. Bridges might go out, but that it's different up there. You can't just walk out. The whole side of the mountain's gone.
It's gone. So good luck to you.
Yeah.
No, because I was upset because I did have to do yard work and it woke me up. It terrified me in the middle of the night. A tornado warning. The alarm startled me out of my sleep and it sounded very loud and shitty. But then it passed and I just had yard work that I had to do and it angered my allergies. But then you see the videos coming out of Western North Carolina and the upstate of South Carolina and you're like, oh, I will actually be very grateful that it was just the yard work.
Yeah. Yeah. We, being on the coast, you'd think that we'd be the ones that were really affected most, but water runs downhill.
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they are free and hopefully they can get things put back together there soon, but I don't know when that's going to happen.
Yeah. You're going to have to rebuild
whole towns.
Hundreds of miles of road and entire towns are gone. So.
Yeah. So scary shit. Hopefully everyone can get through it the best they can because damn. So I don't
think anybody ever even fathomed that could happen, but
I certainly didn't. And I know hurricanes. So that's crazy. To a more fun disaster, we have a game coming up. The Gamecocks, Ole Miss. We were talking about how Ole Miss, you can kind of count on them to give away a silly game every year. And we were pretty optimistic. Not pretty optimistic. We were hopeful that the game would come against us. But Ole Miss went ahead and gave it to Kentucky. That seems unfair.
Yeah, it seems like really unfortunate timing for us. Just that, Ole Miss has had a cupcake schedule, up until last week. They finally played somebody that could hit them in the teeth. And that's what happened. Then they just didn't respond. And we are very similar to Kentucky as far as matchup wise, but we are hitting them the week after they got smacked in the mouth. And guess what? I think that they're going to come back pissed off, and because they thought they were a playoff team, and
Yeah.
I thought they were a playoff team before the beginning of the season, and all their stats up to this point show that they had that potential. But when you play nobodies for the first 4 weeks, and then finally play a team that can hit you in the mouth and control the line of scrimmage, it's just going to be a wake up call.
Yeah, I don't really understand Kentucky, first of all, because that was a pretty easy game for us. And now against Georgia and Ole Miss, they have put up fights. But even watching Kentucky, I never see them play, even when they're playing well against these good teams, and think, oh, this is a good football team. I do think, like you're saying, like this is a team that will hit you in the mouth, but I'm not like, oh, they just had a bad week against us. I'm always like, okay, they're kind of tough, but they are still Kentucky.
Right.
So I don't understand them at all, and I don't know what beating them means for us, if anything at all.
Well, Kentucky is just one of those teams that is their main focus is just to control the ball. And there's which is just kind of how Mark Stoops is. He just, ball control, very little, explosive plays. They did have a couple against Ole Miss to win it, that long pass there at the end to get in scoring range. But just, they're very boring.
Yes.
And which is fine if you're winning games.
Yeah.
But Kentucky's never going to blow anybody out unless it's a FCS school or something. But they just didn't allow any big plays out of Ole Miss. And that is how Ole Miss operates. They're very
boom or bust.
And they got their first dose of reality as far as what happened. Who are we when the play number one isn't working? And they just weren't able to adapt. And I think they came into that game really just kind of thinking, oh, we're going to blow the doors off Kentucky, and didn't think they had to show up, and Kentucky took advantage of it.
Yeah, it turns out they did have to show up.
Yeah.
And watching that Ole Miss team, I don't know what to make of Jackson Dart, their quarterback.
Yeah, it's a very big question mark. I don't know. I think he's a very good quarterback, but I don't have a lot of evidence to show me one way or the other what he actually is. And I mean, Kentucky's got a really good pass rush, and Jackson was able to make some plays, but it's not anything outstanding that I've seen.
Yeah, he just doesn't really jump off the screen at you when you watch him. I mean, I'm looking at his stats: 77% completion percentage, 13 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, well over 300 yards a game. But it never feels like that when I'm watching them.
Yeah, he seems kind of bland.
Yeah, which is weird to have. I don't think of Lane Kiffin having a bland quarterback. Do you think our pass rush is going to be able to affect him the same way that Kentucky's was?
So I think we are going to be able to get a significant pass rush. Whether or not we can really control the line of scrimmage, I don't know. Whether they just decide that, hey, they pass rush really well, let's just run it against them. We're pretty good runner. I think they're top 5 in rushing.
Yeah.
So we that's not something we've really been dominant on as far as stopping the run. We've kind of been slowing it down so far, but I think if we put them in situations where they have to drop back and throw, then we've got a chance to make Jackson make some mistakes. What I'm really scared about is our DBs, and I don't know what to tell you there, because our defensive line has been masking that whole charade that's going on back there for a couple of weeks. But if Ole Miss's offensive line is able to give him time, he's probably going to just rip us apart throwing the ball.
Yeah, I was looking at their receivers because, of course, they have former Gamecock Juice Wells is there.
Yeah.
He's their third leading receiver. They got the kid Trey Harris, has 800 yards in 5 games. And
what is that, like an average of 110 a game?
It's ridiculous, and that scares me for exactly like what you're saying. Like if he does get the ball and does have time to get him the ball, I just do not envision. I just keep having nightmares of like Harris finding himself with DQ Smith on him, and just touchdown after touchdown, and Lane's throwing clipboards left and right. Like that's what I'm having nightmares of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've got receivers on top of receivers on top of receivers, and we have DBs that are pretending to play defensive back.
Yeah.
So it's just, man, we're going to have to cause havoc in the backfield and make Jackson make mistakes. I don't know what we're going to do, but this is extremely terrifying to me.
Yeah, especially like you said, coming off. I was pulling for an Ole Miss blowout so bad because I just wanted them to come and just don't take us seriously. Just come in, don't let us maybe sneak up on you. But I think that is absolutely out the window. You mentioned their rushing attack. They got Henry Parrish Jr., who was at Miami. He's got nearly 500 yards. So, I mean, that's almost 100 yards a game. He's got 8 touchdowns. That is definitely a huge concern. His backup, too, Matt Jones, he's giving him like 40 yards a game as well. So I think we're in agreement that the major concern is, can we stop them from scoring? Because if we can't stop them from scoring, there's no way, even though Lenoris is supposed to be back, there's no way we can hang with them in a shootout.
No, the best chance we have is to slow them down and keep them off the field. So we need to have sustained drives on offense, which has been our problem all year long. And we need to make sure guys don't get hurt. So I don't know what Sellers is going to do. I don't know what Sanders is going to do. If we can keep them healthy and keep them productive, then we have a chance to keep the ball in our possession. Hopefully we can just, every drive just move the ball down the field methodically, keep our defense fresh and tire their defense out. But I don't know how that happens, especially if Lenoris is not up to how he was, prior to the injury. And we cannot have turnovers. It just can't happen.
Yes, and that's man, I just don't have a ton of faith with Lenoris back there, because we've seen the ball security problems with him. He hadn't really had to air it out enough to where he's throwing picks. Yeah. But there are some throws he makes where I'm like, that probably should have been an interception, or that wasn't the best decision.
Yeah. And he's had some interceptions that were just like, wow, why? That was really overthrown. But I don't have especially he hasn't played in 2 weeks. Yeah. I really don't like coming off a bye against a really good opponent, because you're not in kind of game, you're out of game mode for a week. I feel like, once you're in the middle of the season, you want to just keep going and going and going and keep your rhythm. If you break that rhythm, sometimes it takes a while to get back into game.
Yeah, especially like we just came off that blowout of Akron where everyone who played looked decent.
Yeah.
And then you just like, okay, let's take a week off. We'll see you later.
Yeah. And we didn't come out great against Akron. We were slow to start, but also Akron was just very bad.
And if we're slow to start against Ole Miss, then that will just be it. We can turn off the television. Game starts at 3:30. We can turn it off at 3:45 and move on.
Yeah.
Which might be okay. Give us the rest of the day to enjoy ourselves. So, the spread. Have you seen the spread on this one yet?
I checked this morning and it was Ole Miss was -9.
Yep. So I was gonna, if you hadn't seen it, I was gonna make you guess, but now that you have, I guess you would win the game.
Sorry.
Where are you laying your entertainment porpoises? What are the Dolphins telling you? Ole Miss -9.
So the Dolphins have told me that they think that Lane Kiffin and the Rebels are going to come in this week all pissed off after what happened, ready to play, and there's too many offensive factors that are leaning towards Ole Miss. So they're putting their entertainment porpoises on Ole Miss and they're taking the points.
It's always tough coming into Willie B, but I do agree with the Dolphins. It's not that tough.
Honestly, I don't know how loud it'll be this week with the storm. I don't know if a lot of people will be able to make it to the game. There's still power outages in Columbia and a ton of them in the upstate.
Yeah.
So I would assume people are going to put more emphasis on staying home and getting their house right over going to a football game.
That's an interesting question because this is a state that cares a lot about its college football.
Yeah. And
Clemson had their home game last weekend.
Yeah, the day after the storm, which is insane to me.
Crazy. They canceled classes, but were like, "Come on out for the game, everybody."
Right. Yeah. And I don't know what their attendance was, but it didn't seem like it was packed house or anything.
No.
Yeah.
So I am curious to see if the people show up, but you certainly can't blame them for not showing up.
Right.
And
if you haven't taken a shower in a week, you might not want to be sitting out in Columbia on a sunny day, 90 degrees and 75% humidity. Just might not be the best idea.
Might not. I would probably pass as well.
Yeah.
But there are going to be some diehards out there, and they will be very smelly.
Hey, maybe we just
funk them out.
Sneak them out of the stadium.
That might be the best option. I'm trying to see if there's anything else we didn't cover. I think we covered it all. This is we've been talking about it for weeks now. Just a hell of a schedule coming up. Yeah. I mean, we got Ole Miss after this one. I mean, not Ole Miss. We got Alabama after this one. They had that incredible game against Georgia where they almost blew it. But they got that kid
for a minute.
Yeah, they got that kid, Ryan Williams, the 17-year-old, who is – I wouldn't doing that at 17 or at any age in my life.
I wasn't thinking about doing that at 17.
No. So
because I was still in high school at 17.
Exactly, like a normal person. This guy's showing off. So yeah, this is week one in a very hellacious stretch, and hopefully we can surprise one team. I'm hoping that team is Texas A&M because I hate them. But not the highest of hopes this weekend.
I'm not optimistic for the next month.
No. So
hopefully we can come out of it healthy enough to put it on A&M lose in person.
That should be the goal for the program, because we're going out to that game to just make sure everyone is in good enough shape to make us happy in person. And we'll be showered most likely.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. All right. Is there anything else we need to touch on?
I don't think so.
Boom. We did it. Again, if you need a vacation, maybe your area wasn't affected by storms. Don't worry, it will be soon because of climate change. Come see Petey here in the Low Country. He's still doing the tours, Morris Island charters. Information is in the show notes. Other than that, we will catch you next week.
Bye.